You got to become a risk taker. Write that down. Viscott said, if you're not willing to risk, you can't grow. And if you can't grow, you can't become your best. And if you can't become your best, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there? You know what? I saw Dr. Norman Vincent Peale 23 years ago. But for 13 years, I wouldn't take the chance. For 13 years, I was living in my comfort zone. For 13 years, I kept saying, Les Brown, you can't do that. Les Brown, you can't have that kind of audience. Les Brown, you don't have the oratorical skills. You don't have the knowledge. You don't have the money. I kept saying, I can't do that. There's an old African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Bishop talks about the enemy in me. If there's no enemy within, how many of you know that you've been your own worst enemy? Raise your hands. So you've got to be willing to get outside your comfort zone. And no one could have told me that the willingness to get outside of my comfort zone, the willingness to fail, the willingness to try, to experiment, the willingness to take some chances, the willingness to do something I'd never done, that in the last 12 years, for 13 years I didn't do it. I convinced myself I couldn't do it. Then the last 12 years I've earned in excess of $14 million. Let me tell you something, $14 million, a good garden and a healthy hog, and you can make it through the winter in Birmingham, Alabama. Do you hear me? No one could have told me I have 2 books, Live Your Dreams, and it's not over until you win. No one could have told me, born in an abandoned building on the floor, labeled educable mentally retarded, no college training, no one could have told me I would have produced 5 specials for public television. That I'd had 3 years ago, the highest rated, fastest canceled talk show in the history of television. Because I wouldn't do those conflict and controversy shows. No one could have told me. I had no idea that I could do what I'm doing right now. Let me tell you what I know about you, and I don't know you. You got greatness within you. One of Dr. King's mentors, Dr. Howard Thurman, said something one night. I was reading, and I couldn't sleep. He said, the ideal situation for a man or woman to die is to have family members standing around their bed, praying with them as they cross over. He said, but imagine, if you will, being on your deathbed, and standing around you are the ideas, the dreams that have been given to you by life, the talents, the gifts that you've never nurtured, that you never developed, the skills that you never did anything with, standing around your bed looking at you with large angry eyes, saying, we came to you, only you could have given us life, and now we must die with you forever. And the question is, if you died now, what dreams, what ideas, what talents, what abilities, what skills, what books, what sermons, what seminars, what businesses will die with you? Miles Monroe said the wealthiest place on the planet is not in the Far East, where they have oil in the ground. It's not in South Africa, where they have diamond mines. He said the wealthiest place on the planet is the cemetery, because there you find dreams not pursued, books never written, songs never sung, sermons never delivered, businesses never erected, talents never nurtured, skills never developed. You survived 1 out of 40 million sperms. You were born to win. God wants you to be rich and wealthy and successful and to live the abundant life. You must affirm that for yourself every day. So as you look at yourself and you look at your life and you look at your circumstances, as you work on your goals and your dreams, here's some things I want to give you. Write this down. Hold yourself to high standards. See, what if Bishop T.D. Jakes had decided when he first received the idea of the Manpower Conference that it could not be. What if he had allowed that idea to die? We would not be here. See, many of you here, you are pregnant with some ideas. I'm telling you what I know. I will leave here this afternoon, tonight, in 1 hour, doing what I'm doing now. In 1 hour, I'll earn in excess of $150,000. I had no idea that I had the capacity to do what I'm doing right now. You've got genius in you. You're made in the likeness and image of God. You've got greatness in you. You have some special stuff in you. You showed up with it. So as you look at your life and you decide to become a risk taker, make it okay to fail, to experiment, trial and error. Repeat after me, please. No test, no testimony. Yeah, you're going to face some hard times. When you decide that you're going to commit your life to Christ, you're going to, at that time, go through unadulterated hell. What's the first thing they say when you get on an airplane before they take off? Fasten your seatbelt. Why? Because you will experience some turbulence before you reach a comfortable altitude. Life was testing me when the man looked at me and said, "You have prostate cancer. Your tumor is too large to have the surgery. We're going to give you radiation seed implants." The most anybody's ever gotten was 90. They gave me 238. I went back 3 weeks ago. They checked my PSA level, which indicates the presence of cancer in your prostate area. 1 to 4 is normal. Beyond that is that you have cancer and it's spreading. When I first went a year ago, it was 6.1. When I went 3 weeks ago at Howard University Hospital, they gave me an MRI, it was 10.5. The guy said, "I'm sorry to tell you this." I said, "What do you mean?" "You're in the same situation that you were in when you came here." Here's something I heard. At Christ Universal Temple Church, at a restaurant, Bishop T.D. Jakes was praying for a lady in a wheelchair. And it's odd how things come to you. When he finished praying for the lady, I'm sure there were some questions were asked that weren't verbal, that if the prayer worked, why didn't she get up and walk? And what he said as he was walking away, healing takes first, he said healing takes place first in the spirit. It didn't matter about his numbers. It didn't matter about their diagnosis. Judge not according to appearances. You must have the faith to call forth those things that be not as though they were. Now, do you really believe? See, it's one thing to believe when you got money in your pocket. It's one thing to believe when your marriage is working out and you got your health and your children acting like they got good sense. Oh, it's good to say, "Oh, the Lord is blessing me." It's easy to believe then. Oh, but when you get that diagnosis, say you ain't gonna be here long. When you lose your job, when someone you thought you'd be with for the rest of your life say, "No, we can't do this no more," that's when you have to stand. That's when you have to begin to live this faith, and that's not on you. That's when you got to call on something. How do you let that mind be in you? You got to be out of your mind to believe in spite of these numbers you can still make it. In spite of the pain you're feeling, you can still come back again. You got to be out of your mind. That's right. I'm in that Christ mind. I believe it. And not when things are just favorable, not fair weather faith. And you've got to believe that. When you're going out here with your ideas, with your products, with your services, and part of being successful is you got to hold yourself to high standards. I use Bishop Jakes as a model. His people take care of you. He's thorough. Hold yourself to high standards, whatever you do. There's no saying, do not go where the path may lead, but go where there's no path and leave a trail. treat people with respect. Treat them the way that you want to be treated. Tony, who's with me, who's been assigned to me, courteous, respectful, called several times. Is there anything I can do for you? Can I help you out? That's first-class service. If you decide to provide first-class service, John H. Johnson, a book called Making Against the Odds, he said, there's no defense against an excellence that meets a pressing public need. When I decided to become involved in the motivational industry, I didn't have the money of a Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, of Zig Ziglar, of Tony Robbins, and all the other giants out there. I had the gift of gab. So what I did was I trained myself, I disciplined myself to read 3 to 4 books a week. First I started out a month. Now I've increased it with a reading system that I have. Mr. Washington said, Mr. Brown, yes sir. Do you want to make it? Yes sir. First you've got to develop your mind, young man, because you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Next, you've got to develop your communication skills. Once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. They said about Jesus, who obviously was an effective communicator, never spec a man. The reason that you're here is because no one can milk scripture and deliver a sermon that can transform your life and have you jumping up and down like you crazy, like T.D. Jakes. I'm home one day looking at this video my daughter gave me called He Called Me Son. Let me tell you something. By the end of that video, and I've never seen my father, when that video got to the end, I was going to the television and said, Daddy! Daddy, come back, Daddy! I pushed reverse and backed it up and said, Daddy! Let me tell you something. He just broke me down in my bedroom. All by myself. I'm looking around to see if anybody see me. That man crafted that message, you hear me? I'm crying like I'm at a funeral. I want my daddy. See, that's a gift. You hear me? That's a gift. People use his word anointed. They should not, only place I've ever seen it applicable is in his case. That's the only thing. I mean to tell you, I think I'm a good speaker, but this is a bad boy we got up in here. Words cannot encompass the symbolism of what we have the chance to see up in here. And yet, he's down to earth. I mean down to earth, where all these little funny outfits he has. I mean, it knocks me out. And let me tell you what my daughter said to me. My daughter, my oldest daughter, is on his advanced team. She said, you know what, I was listening to Dion last night, and I think I'm going to call Bishop Jakes daddy too. I said, I wish you would. I mean, I will throw you out here right now and break his leg till I calling him daddy. Now here's how I want you to write this down. Write down, take responsibility for your life.
I want to talk to you about fighting for the life that you want. And that's something that we're looking at with admiration with the people in Ukraine. These people are fighting. And it's really like David and Goliath. He had 5 stones, but he only used 1. And I think that was the stone of determination, the stone of faith, the stone of perseverance. When you think about where things are there's several things that come up for me here. And we have a similar situation right here in the United States. You know, we're dealing with police departments who, for the most part, they are serving people. They serve and protect the dominant culture, but people of color, they terrorize and murder. It's a whole different thing. And there was something I remember by Claude McKay. Where is that paper? I saw something by Claude McKay, and it reminded me of these powerful words by Claude McKay. It was something that Claude McKay did. He was a poet from Jamaica, went to New York, and it was a piece that Claude McKay did called If We Must Die. I want to find that piece because it speaks to where if you want to have something in life, you got to be willing to go to the left for it. You got to be willing to fight for it. Frederick Douglass said something that I love very much. He said, power concedes nothing without a demand. People that dominate you and that control you, they're not just going to give that up and walk away. No, you got to fight, and you've got to be willing to fight to the death in order to get the things that you want. Give me the Claude McKay piece that we were talking about earlier. And so when you look at where you are, anything that has any value that you want to create in your life, it's something else. Frederick Douglass said, he said, we might not get everything we fight for, but everything we get, there will be a fight. So when you think about your life in and out of the pandemic, and that there are forces, white supremacists, that infiltrate the majority of police stations and operations in the country, that we have to be willing to fight for what we want. And people trying to turn back the hands of time, trying to deny us the opportunity to vote, working relentlessly to deny marginalized people opportunities and an unequal environment. It's a continuous fight. And so I want to focus on something about this. This is symbolic. One, the recklessness of Putin, that there are people in life, short-term thinking, driven by ego, that think that they can just bully and pounce on people and think that everybody will stand by and watch. Something that one rabbi said that I love very much. He said, when something happens, three things are going on. One, there's the perpetrator, and they're the victims, and they're the witnesses. And the question is, who's the worst? And the answer is the witnesses. People who stand by and do nothing. People who stand by and say nothing. And one of the great things about what's going on now in this country and around the world, that people have awakened. I remember the demonstrations, and I found it heart-worthy when George Floyd was murdered by a cop and the cops that were with the murderer. They stood back and they watched. At any point in time, they could have intervened and said, come on, it's four of us and one of him. He's handcuffed, he's down, and we're on top of it. But they didn't do that because they don't recognize your humanity. When you're in a country that does not recognize your humanity, and that most certainly is in America, then it's a different kind of environment. When you come from home, you are terrorized. You face when you're driving, that you're in an environment where you're going to be terrorized or murdered by those who are sworn to protect and to serve. And so when you have goals and dreams that you want to achieve, there are systems that are put in place to deny you, to destroy your sense of self, and to demonize you. And the way that you overcome that, you got to fight. I'm encouraged. I'm inspired by what's taking place in the Ukraine. That those Ukrainians have said, no, this is not the life that we want. We want the life that we are now experiencing. We don't want someone to control our destiny. That's powerful. That's encouraging. God is in the midst of all this stuff as we watch, as we observe. And I'm saying to you, as you look at yourself, look at your goals, that everything you want to do, if it's changing your life, if it's having your own business, if it's bouncing back from a setback, and many people have experienced that. Many people have lost their businesses, have gone through foreclosure, gone through evictions. Many people, their businesses have gone under. But something that Willie Jolly said, that a setback, come on Willie, a setback is a setup for a comeback. You got comeback power. And when you know that, I remember when I was on the ropes dealing with fourth-stage cancer, that those words stayed in my mind. I remember the words of Bob Proctor, who just passed a couple of weeks ago, that Bob talked about your mindset and your willingness to do what's required to move your life forward to achieve the things that you want to achieve. It's going to take everything in you. A.L. Williams said, all you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. But make sure you do all you can do. And since Bob Proctor's transition, I've been reflecting on my own life, because we all have an expiration date. And I ask myself constantly, if you had your life to live over again, Les, could you have done more than what you have done thus far? And the truth is, yes. I'm ashamed. I could have done more. And I'm still here. I still got some time. I can still speak. I can still make a difference. Somebody said, why don't you do something other than just speak? Do something where you can have some fun. I said, are you kidding me? I have fun speaking. Are you kidding me? I have a ball changing lives. I want you to think about this. Live your life in the way that you want to leave your life. When it's time for me to go, I will still be speaking. Come on, somebody. Well, oh, behave. Yes. And I have a lot of fun. We did some training in Orlando, and I was masked up. I got a plastic mask. I got all kind of masks up here. Let me tell you something. Nobody's hooked up more than me. And we had a ball. I got, I got masks. See here, homemade playing. Where's my plastic mask? I got it. See, I got everything up in here. When I came in there, they said, what was that guy's name? I forgot. The Silence of the Lambs. I got everything up in here. Yeah, where's my plastic mask? Hey, Maui. Oh, here it is. I got everything, honey. Look here. This is how I'm going to the airport today. I'm going back to Atlanta. So this is what I'm doing. I don't even fly anymore. But I had to come do my seminar. So this is what I got going, okay? All right, okay. So then, in addition to this, I got everything, baby! You want that movie to call The Silence of the Lambs?
That's
So, look here. If a dog sneezes around me, I'll get up and run. But let me tell you something. So I'm masked up. Do you hear me, homie, Flynn? Listen to this. This is by Claude McKay. This is a bad boy. He's a bad brother. This is not the front of it. If we must die, where's that? No. Oh, this is those small print. This madness. And you better believe, even though it's thousands of miles away, it's affecting our collective consciousness. What happens to any of us happens to all of us, even though it's thousands of miles away. Oh boy, no man is an island, no man stands alone. When you think about where we are in this point in time, I'm encouraging all of you for your prayers and support of the Ukrainian people, and for us to reflect on our own lives and our own battles that we have here. We have our own stuff here. The police departments are being run and controlled by white supremacists. We got our own stuff here. And I say to you that when they know that we mean business, that you're not going to just continue to terrorize us and murder us and get away with it like you've been doing for centuries, trust me on this. They're going to begin to respect us, saying, no, they're not being pushed around and looked past, and they are willing to stand up for each other. That's that, and they fear if the Ukraine joins NATO, and that's the message I want to talk to you about right now. They fear Russia don't want Ukrainians to join NATO. Why? Because if you attack any of us, you attack all of us. And there's a message in that this is a time that you want to develop a mindset of liberation, a mindset of determination. And you want to develop your skill set, learning all that you can. And because if you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. But if you're willing to learn, no one can stop you. But the other piece that's major is developing strategic relationship alliances. That's why I'm talking to you now. They don't want them to join NATO, because if you affect an impact or attack anybody in NATO, you got to fight all of them. And he doesn't want to see that happen. He doesn't want them to do that. And when we come together around our values, come together with a determination to stand up for a better future for our children, when we develop strategic alliances, communities of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships, there's some power in that. Because you can't make it by yourself in this thing called life. There'll always be some battles. There's some evil people in this world. And I don't have to tell you that, you know that. And you have to protect yourself from them. I remember when I was working at WVKO radio station in Columbus, Ohio, and Eddie Saunders, who was the assistant program, no, he was the program director for a long time. And Eddie was the vice general of the radio station. And he used to box, and Eddie was in his 70s and I was in my 20s. And I said, Eddie, I heard you used to box. He said, yes. I said, you know what? I think I'll just run over there and slap you side the head, see what you do. He said, come on. He said, you might run over here, but you will limp back. I said, okay, Eddie. Eddie Saunders said, I ain't scared of you. You run over here, you gonna limp back, young man. You know, young broom sweep clean, but old broom nowhere to go. So this is a historic time. I'm watching this. I'm pulling for the Ukrainians. And you know, the Orange Man and all his minions and these, you know, these spineless people today, they should write a book called Profiles in Cowardice. I remember a book was written called Profiles in Courage. Well, we're living in a time we got politicians talking out both sides of their neck because they're afraid of the Orange Man. And I've said to you, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but it was one of our favorite songs. Fly the ocean in a silver plane, see the jungle when it's wet with rain. Just remember, darling, you belong to me. I used to love to hear her sing that song. She would always sing that while she was ironing. And then she got an idea. She said, wait, I'm not working at the M&M cafeteria anymore, downtown Miami. I can find out neighbors who need some ironing done. And I'll iron for them, and they'll pay me. I'll find neighbors who would like to have a sweet potato pie. I'll bake some sweet potato pies and sell slices of sweet potato pie for a dime or a quarter. I'll cook for them. And so what I learned from Mama, she didn't miss a beat. When you got a goal, when things happen, when there are interruptions, when life has been snatched out from under you, don't miss a beat. Find a way to restart your life. Find a way to do something else. See, one of the things that allowed me to become successful as a speaker, people ask me all the time, and sometimes I would vary how I respond. How did you get here? How did you overcome the odds? What did you have to do? You know, one of the things I did, and I want you to keep this in mind, be stubborn about your goals. but flexible about your approach. I had people with PhDs and MBAs, and we would walk around this big park in Detroit, talking to each other about our goals and dreams, and something happened. I looked at them because of their credentials, because of their education, because of their college training and corporate experience. And you know something? They quit. You know why? They knew more than me. So sometimes you have to be intelligently ignorant. Based upon the approach that we were using, we failed at making a breakthrough. So they gave themselves a limited time, looking for a sign. If you want to create something, is there something that you want to do? You got to give it some time. A watch pot never boils. You got to give it some time. You've got to be willing to put in the work, and if, particularly in multi-level marketing, you don't want to raise your hand and look to see how well you're doing for a minimum of 2 years. When a home is being built or a building, they spend a lot of time on just the foundation. And so they stopped showing up for our walk. And pretty soon, I found myself walking by myself. Let me share something with you. When you have goals and dreams and you're going in a certain direction, that it's lonely at the top. You're going to find yourself in certain situations by yourself. I can tell you this. They stopped coming out to walk with me, and they went back looking for a job. That was not me. That was not an option for me. That's a non-negotiable. No! I'm going to speak. I'm going to find a way. You might be experiencing a big setback. Your business has perhaps been devastated by the coronavirus. You just saying, my God. First of all, that's a blow when you have to let people go and you don't have money to pay the bills because the business has been interrupted. Oh, we can open up and people can come in, or we have to close down. And then you say, wait a minute, opening up, all right, and I want my business, but I'm not willing to die for my business. Got to figure out another way. And this is this place where we are. That many times in life, when you're faced with a God-ordained opportunity, brilliantly disguised as problems and challenges, a lot of people give up. They surrender. They run with their tails between their legs. It's a God-ordained opportunity. There are opportunities here in the midst of crises. 3 types of people going to come out of this: millionaires, billionaires, and witnesses, people who stood around and watched. You have something special. You have greatness in you. And whatever, no test, no testimony, whatever is in front of you, you have the power to handle it. But I don't know what to do. Okay, got that. You don't know what to do. Figure it out. You don't have to know what to do. Walk by faith and not by sight. Figure it out. Everything that exists, somebody was willing to put in the energy and the time to figure it out. Everybody. When John F. Kennedy in 1961 called his cabinet and they came in a room and they were going to decide, how can we beat the Russians to the moon? Werner von Braun, one of the most brilliant German scientists of that time, he looked at Werner. What can we do to beat the Russians to the moon? And Werner said 5 things. Everybody was prepared to start typing. This is before computers. Everybody was prepared to take a lot of notes. Everybody was looking for a long lecture that would take hours to determine how much staff and how much money, what the budget will be, what's the process. Everybody but they were set up for that. They went there. It was like a retreat, a mastermind. Well, I want you to think about your life right now. I was reflecting on when I decided to become a professional speaker. I looked at my life and I just said, you know what? I want to do more. I want more. I want more for myself, my family, my mother, and I want to be in charge of my own destiny. And what I was doing at that time was not providing that. And it got to a point, I don't know whether or not you've ever been there, that just doing something 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, just to pay the bills, to keep a roof over my head, and for transportation and food on the table, it just didn't get it. I mean, if you can understand how I felt, it just didn't get it. I didn't find that fulfilling. One, I was doing something that wasn't me. And I was doing something to survive. What it takes to live versus what it takes to survive are two different things. And so here's what I realized, that if you're not willing to take a chance on you, if you're not willing to learn something, and you're the top performer, you will be selected for manager. Now you're changing the rules. Now I had a choice. They said I would lower morale, so I took a chance on me. I wonder what happened to the morale when the top performer left. And they had the unmitigated gall to ask me to train the people that they were going to put over me. I said, hello, do I look like Mr. Buckethead? No. Be a team player? No. You know, some people got nerve. You know what I mean? They got nerve up in here. I said, I got to do something that puts me in charge. If you want to be in charge of life, but I'm working from home now. This is what I do. When I'm not talking to you, you know what I'm doing? I'm speaking to corporations. I'm speaking to organizations. I'm speaking to different groups of people who want to be motivated and inspired, and helping them to create a sense of engagement and unification, even though they're separate geographically. And I'm doing that from the comfort of my home. I teach people how to use this computer to bring their personality through, their passion and their energy through, to create a significant... People are going to lose their jobs from artificial intelligence. Millions of people have lost their jobs because of coronavirus. You think you're the only one out here? No. It's a different market right now. It's different. There are people that are desperate, going through foreclosures and evictions, lost their jobs, lost their businesses. So the people that are going to come out on top, the people that will snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, they're hungry. When I came out here, I was hungry. I got 5 sons and 5 daughters and a mother that I want to take care of and buy a home for. You got to be hungry. People that are hungry are relentless. You got to get your hustle on. People that are hungry are the first ones there and the last ones to leave. Most people are not hungry. Most people are conditioned to do just enough to keep from getting fired, working in an environment where they've been paid just enough to keep from quitting. It takes some time to step out of that mental conditioning. People that are hungry, when I worked for WVKO, I was program director, I was news director, I was manager of station operation, I did commercials, I did editorials, I did a talk show, The Voice of the People, whole lot of stuff that they didn't pay me for. Why, Les? Because I wanted to learn. I wanted to make myself indispensable. That's why. That's why I did it. I wanted to make myself more valuable and increase my value for the operation. You have to have that kind of attitude about life. That are you increasing your value every day? If you were on the stock market, would you invest in you? Most people have to say no. Why? They're not reading anything. They're not learning anything new. They're operating within their comfort zone, and they're praying every day that they don't lose a job that they hate. That's what you call mixed emotions. See somebody you hate drive off a cliff in your car. You're glad they're gone, but not in your car. Oh, behave. Hello. Whatever. No. It's a different place now. You got to be hungry. You have to get your stuff together. Average is over. The being average, doing just enough to get by. No. And when I talk to people, I can ask a certain question. I can tell the hungry ones and the ones who are slackers. And they're everywhere. The pigeons. See, today, employers are looking for eagles. You go outside right now and see some pigeons, but it's going to take a minute to see some eagles because they fly high. This is what time it is. And when you look at yourself, look at your goals, look at your dreams, this time demands that you get outside of your comfort zone. This time requires that you invest in you. That's what I was willing to do. The people that will be successful are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. People who are not successful have large television screens, and people who are successful have large libraries. Hello? Oh. People who are hungry are willing to discipline themselves.